As soon as I saw the tubers in the back corner of an Asian market, I knew I had struck gold. I'd been looking for them for years now. I wanted to try growing them, but I couldn't just yet. This was in deep December, and the ground lay frozen, blanketed by a shroud of snow. I was not about to disturb its slumber, and pickaxe my way into the abode of drowsy earthworms. It was the beginning of the season's end. I had to wait for the end, and a new beginning in spring. Here's the thing about Jerusalem artichokes. Unlike potatoes, they don't last too long once plucked from the ground. So I got one of those ubiquitous clamshell produce containers with breathing holes and filled it with some potting soil I had inside the house, protected from winter's icy embrace. It was slightly moist, the perfect state to preserve the tubers until early spring. And so, 3 months before the ground outside would be receptive, I was quietly putting the tubers to bed, bathed in dim northern light, reflected by fields of snow. I had to patiently wait. Patience is a gardener's most exercised virtue. We gardeners are always complaining of cold winters and frost, but I've come to like winter's rest. It is when we truly appreciate the garden because of its lack. It is a time of hope and anticipation when we pore over seed catalogs and sites and buy way more seed than we could possibly use. We check daily and anxiously for the shipments of seeds. It is like I'm a kid in Christmas morning, opening up gifts. Each seed packet is like a postcard from Earth, giving details of its adventures and inviting us along. The best thing about seeds is that they are small, lightweight, and dry, and so very cheap to mail. Tubers, as in the case of Jerusalem artichokes, on the other hand, are heavy and moist and just more difficult to get a hold of. While Jerusalem artichokes produce seed, it is best to grow them from tubers. That's why, as soon as I saw the tubers being sold in the store, for very little, might I add, I had to have them. After a couple of months, the tubers had sent up strong green shoots. I had been watering them not too frequently to not encourage them to grow, but keep them from shriveling. Jerusalem artichoke is a determined plant. It will grow and nothing will stop it. Somehow I even had conscripted a few stranded ladybugs to keep it company. Luckily, the ground had thawed enough to be workable, so I decided to plant the tubers before they took over the house. Now, you may be wondering, why on earth would I go through such lengths to get a plant that has suffered from a bad reputation, being considered a weed and having the crass, self-explanatory nickname Artichoke? Yes, it is very weed-like, only because of its tremendous resilience and incredible growth. Much like mint, once you plant it in a bed, you won't be able to eradicate it. But I see that as a good thing. And unlike honeysuckle or kudzu, exotic invasives, it is actually a native species that Native Americans cultivated long before European colonization. Its name is really a misnomer, since it has nothing to do with Jerusalem. It is not related to artichokes either. It is in fact a sunflower. The name Jerusalem most likely came from the English corruption of the Italian girasole. With no maintenance, it grows phenomenally, producing a relatively high-protein edible tuber. It also produces lots of biomass that will in turn feed the soil, increasing organic matter. I planted them in a spot that had poorer soil that I had never cultivated before. They are not fussy. You must really try hard to kill them. Although slightly compacted, this soil had its fair share of earthworms, so I knew it was gonna get a nice home. I used a fork and loosely broke up the soil to bury the stems and roots, which had already created a woven, root-bound mesh inside the plastic container. While with other plants I would be more gentle, Jerusalem Artichoke doesn't seem to mind the rough treatment. This was in early spring, and all other plants were still dormant, awaiting warmer conditions. These spindly shoots of green served as a sign of a new season to come. Although I didn't think groundhogs would bother these shoots, considering it was too early for them to be active, I didn't want to take any chances. So I decided to put one of my wire cages to protect them until established. In a future episode, I will share with you how much they grew and the harvest. Planting them was not difficult, and for subsequent years, they would grow by themselves, and I wouldn't even have to do anything other than harvest. I can get used to that. Join me next time for a new garden adventure, and don't forget to subscribe to Suburban Homestead.